Welcome back to the Zero Camber podcast. I am Mike, that is
Whooper.
and we have some fun stuff today. So the first thing I wanted to do actually is I put out a short video a couple hours before we recorded and basically just said, hey, wait, what do you guys want to talk about? And all of our 39 followers, we actually got somebody to respond, which was kind of cool. That made me feel good. And the question was, and I thought it was actually a really good question. I'll read it verbatim. That's why I'm not looking at the screen right now, because I'm looking over at this. Low-key, want to know 5 cars you wish you've got in the States but didn't that you still can't import. And I'm taking a wild guess that Whoop might say the S660.
I would love to, actually. That is
Does
good.
that does that take a spot on the list?
Yeah, I think so. I think I do. I think I do have to top that in there, which is funny because I'm not even the convertible guy, which is, well, I guess that is kind of funny because I've had several convertibles, but
Convertibles are fine. I just am not buying them because it's a convertible. Like a Miata is a convertible, but I bought it because it's a Miata. I had a Mustang GT Vert, but I got that because I got it cheap. And it was kind of cool, but like I wasn't in love with it because it was a convertible. It happened to be a convertible.
Yeah, that's fair. Because anything that I'm interested in that is a convertible, I would prefer to own the coupe variant if there is one. And if there's not one, I wish there was.
Yeah. Like an RF Miata is better than a soft top because it kind of looks not convertible.
100%.
Right? I remember because I was finding like super cheap F56 mini verts, and I sent one to you, and you're just like, no, you're not.
Yeah, no,
you're not getting that.
No, I couldn't.
I'm glad I did
do that.
I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I think I would have had to drive down there and slap you. To be honest, I don't think I'd have been able to allow that to happen.
I did end up spending a premium to not get a vert.
It was worth every penny.
It was especially because I walked into that random dealer and like managed to get a special edition. Like F56 Mini for the, a good price. So that was kind of cool. Speaking of F56 Minis, I dropped my fucking coffee in my car today. Like latte. I got like a quarter of my latte all over the shift boot, all over the shifter, all over the fucking like MMI controls, the iDrive controls because it's BMW. So like I spent a good part of today having to like clean it all out. And I had to like pull the plastics off and like get down there with Q-tips to get the liquid out because it was like down in the connectors.
Oh.
So if I own an Audi and a BMW product, and if the BMW product has an electrical issue first, that's why. So anyway, speaking of electrical, I'm gonna segue into my first car. I really, really want the Honda E. So
those are sweet. I do think those are super sick. They have like, I think the Honda E nails that beautiful line between like futuristic, like EV and like current generation, like kind of car, like just modern car.
It looks modern, but it does, it blends that sort of EV without being overwrought. Like, it's because that's what Tesla kind of did, right? With its revisions, it kind of brought down that from away from the overwrought sort of look, but it still tried to be like style, like it still tried to be like stylish and sleek. And then the Honda E was just like, no, I'm adorable.
Yes,
and
that's
I'm
what I
like.
Like.
Perfect city car.
Yeah, that's what I like because I feel like if you look at a lot of EVs, right, especially like a lot of the Chinese manufactured EVs, they all look very like heavy futuristic. Yes. Or you get the other end where they try to go like too retro with it, and then you end up with like kind of like that cyberpunk vibe of that Hyundai concept.
And I don't really care too much for that. Now, I will say the reason I think the Honda E looks good in comparison to like a Tesla, which let's be honest, they do have similar-esque style in terms of the really smooth body lines and things.
Yeah.
Is it actually looks like it has a grill. I've always disliked the fact that Tesla just eschewed the grill entirely, and it to me just still looks silly. It
because like the grill kind of adds to the face of a car, and like I think it's definitely there's like a bit of that I don't know what the term is, but I know that they're like humans like just look for faces and things because it's supposed to be like
Yeah, it starts with a P, periodelia or something like that.
yeah,
I
something
want to
along
say
those lines.
paraphernalia because like I say that word, but then paraphernalia comes to mind, and I'm like, I promise I'm not. Anyway, no, because it's cool, right? Because it's got the big like it's got the screens across the dash, but it feels
Yep.
appropriate because it's a little city car,
Yeah.
and it's got like 130-ish horsepower, right? So it's like it's got a little move, and I think it gets like 130 something miles,
Yeah.
which is really low, but like that's the reason why it's a city car. And I've always had a soft spot for the i3. I love the i8, but I've always had a soft spot for the
Yep.
i3, and I think that this just scratches a similar itch.
For me, the biggest thing is I think the Honda E does a great job of like calling back to the Honda City,
Yes.
and I love the old Honda City turbos, like especially like the later generation one that came with the Moto Combo in the back.
Yes.
Uh,
Those are
like
cool.
that is just such a like that is such a cool concept that like I wish we would see again. You know, like I like that
Yes.
was purely a like '80s choice to just be like, let's sell you a little hatchback where there's like a factory option for a motorized scooter in the back. Like,
Yeah, that's
you know, like
perfect.
that's
It's that era was so good
yes.
from like the Japanese manufacturers, and we never got like really any like a lot of the good stuff. We got some of it, but man, all the stuff that they had over there that we have to import now,
Well,
that's
then
just
I
so
mean,
good.
I like maybe granted I have like zero experience to speak from with this, but like the idea of being like a college guy or like you know like young career guy in like the late '80s, early '90s in Japan, and you just like you got your moto like your
They
Honda
had
City and your
they had
Moto
so
Combo,
much
like
swag.
dude, oh dude, you probably felt like you were the coolest motherfucker on the
Yes,
planet. Like that
yes,
was there's no way you didn't because like just like
right.
man like pull
Like
up in the parking
perfect little
garage and you
thing.
just strut around in the city, you know, just that if we had more stuff like that, I think you'd see one. I mean, I think like driving places that are like big
Yep,
cities like New
it
York or
would suck
Chicago,
less.
yeah, it would be way less boring. Like,
I also will say that like this is sort of what it feels like to me that like the slates and the Oblivions and stuff are trying to capture
yeah,
is that adventure vehicle like comes with cool little things. Nothing really still can quite capture though like it comes with a bike like
yeah,
in the
exactly.
car.
Well, and like I think the Rivian and the Slate are cool for like either the utility or the adventurous side of things and stuff like that because I think that is like real popular
Well,
right now. But like
the Rivian Camp Kitchen though is quite
that,
possibly one of the coolest modern car accessories that
yeah,
I've
that's
seen.
definitely got to be one of like the cooler OEM options. Like
Yes,
to
yes.
just have as an option, you just tick a box. Like that's sweet.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
it's a whole pull out like kitchen for camping that just goes all the way through the gear tunnel. Like that's freaking awesome.
yeah, and well, and the gear tunnel itself is just like that
That's
was a
such a good
great use of
concept.
space. Like
Yeah.
that is I do love that. That's honestly
Yep.
one of my favorite things about the R1T.
Oh my god,
Uh,
yeah. It's so
I
cool.
it's just yeah, it's quite literally peak
Yes.
design there.
People like storage. People
Yeah.
love storage.
Well,
I
and like
remember
there's no excuse to not have that, to be
no.
honest. Like
What are you going to use it
what was
for?
your other option? Like, okay, we'll give you a little plastic bin under the seat that folds forward. Like,
Yeah. It's well, I will say this. Because I assume you're referencing the Jeeps, right? The
well
Cherokee
even like my
Trailhawks
Tacoma,
and
like my third gen Tacoma, you know,
yeah.
it's got like you flip the back seat
Oh, under the
forward
back seats.
and it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
got a tiny little storage
I
compartment under
I
there. It's like,
don't
okay, well,
I don't know if they still do this, but the original Cherokee Trailhawks had like in the front seat you could pull up in the passenger seat you could actually pull up the cushion and there was like a little storage compartment
oh, I did
under.
not know that
Yeah,
actually.
that's cool. And so for people that don't know, I owned a Pacifica for a long time,
Mhm.
and
Stow
it's
and go, baby.
the worst driving experience I've had. Hands down,
Yeah,
worst driving experience I've had. But getting in a car that's got the stow and go, the fold flat seats, like the whole back came down. The fact that I had the entertainment package, so we had the Bluetooth player in the front. You could throw in a DVD and like play, like sure I couldn't see it, but like you could throw in like Scooby Doo and play it over this and play it over the speakers, and the kids had their own screens. Like that was the
that's
coolest stuff.
probably that's probably as close as I can imagine like modern kids like that Gen Alpha is gonna get to like being able to experience what like a millennial in the back of an Astro van with the table and the TV was like.
Yes.
Like
I
that's
always wanted an N64 in the back of the car, and my parents were not rich enough to pull that off.
dude. I can definitely say I remember. So like, in my parents did have like when I was real young, they had an Astro van for a little bit, which had like the little wooden table like in the back and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was funny. And then, um, as I was growing up, my parents had bought a first generation Scion XB, which later became I ended up buying that
Yeah.
off of my mom and had that for a car. But at one point, like my dad had a fucking PlayStation 2 like under the passenger seat,
Oh,
going
yes.
to TV and put in the ceiling and stuff like that because he was very real into show car stuff
Mm-hmm.
kind of at the time. So that was actually pretty sweet. I do remember having that and like being able to go on a road trip and play Gran Turismo in the back seat or Ratchet and Clank was just baller.
Oh my
And
God,
I
Ratchet
did
and Clank.
my
Oh,
tweet from a couple of weeks ago here
I assume it was about
yeah
that.
it was about having like consoles in before
Yes.
everybody blew it out of proportion because
Yeah.
everybody's like you can't stick a PS5 in there. I'm like no you can't because you'd have to have internet connectivity in it anyways.
Yeah, no,
Like,
put a retro
put a PlayStation
console.
2 or
Yes.
3 in your in the back of your show car. That would be cool.
My plan, like long term with the Lexus, because I want it to be a drift car, right? But my plan is because it's such a long estate car,
Yeah.
is to retain the rear seats because I always want
Yeah.
my kids to be able to come in the car with me.
Yeah.
So I want to retain the rear seats and then put a ceiling mounted screen and have an old console in there for them to play. Like I like just go with something simple though, right? Like a retro duo or whatever to play SNES games or NES.
I was
but
even thinking like if you could put like a Wii or something in there. Like could you imagine playing like Mario Kart? Like like
I can't imagine trying to like you're in the car, your parents are driving. And
well,
you're
I mean, like you
can
use the GameCube controllers off of it, but
yeah. Well, because I have like I have a GameCube, I have an N64, I have all that stuff. So like I could always
yeah.
But anyway, car number 2. What is Whoop's car number 2?
Car number 2 for me, I honestly big one that I've always been upset that we haven't gotten here is
I think I know
the
what it's gonna
Lavore.
be. Yep, I knew it.
So
I knew it.
I mean, I'm a big Subaru guy.
Yes.
I love Subarus. And I love wagons, despite, everybody else's opinions. Wagons are fantastic.
Wagons are fantastic.
The idea of having an STI that is a full wagon, not like just an Outback.
Not a hatchback, right?
Yeah, not a hatch.
An actual, people don't get this. Wagons and hatchbacks are different freaking things.
Yes. We'll throw up pictures of both a hatch and a Lavorg here because
Yeah.
those are two very different I mean they're similar, but they're very different.
Yes.
And like a Lavorg is just sick. Like a Lavorg STI.
Oh my God, they're so cool.
I'm so jealous that we didn't get those stateside.
Mhm.
Because
I think it would have done well. I do.
honestly, yeah, I do think it would have done better than they expect.
Yes.
And I mean, like, I can't imagine it's that much. I mean, well, they could have just. I mean, they're already building them over there anyway.
Here you go.
So I mean,
Subaru. Here's the plan. You killed the Legacy, right? Because Legacy's gone now, isn't it?
no, there is still a Legacy. I believe.
Kill the Legacy, and bring the Lavorg STI to the U.S. and just go ahead and
Subaru.
kill the WRX too, because fuck the sedan people.
Well, they already
They're
no.
wrong.
Hold on, Subaru. You already converted the Outback into an actual smaller SUV now. So if it's already an SUV, you need a wagon in the lineup.
That's true. That's
the
true.
Lavorg, you got to bring it over.
That's true.
That's what I need from you.
Okay. So my second car,
Mhm.
I think I'll say the one we share.
Yeah.
Is the Jimny.
Yeah, the Jimny's so cool, man.
Jimnys are awesome. I know
It doesn't even matter
almost
the
nothing
generation.
about them mechanically, really. Like I almost know nothing about them. It's just to me like they're cheap, they're relatively capable, and it would be like for me it's like if you're a race guy, and you don't have the money to do like Spec Miata or something like that.
Yeah.
So you go do like karting, right? Like high power kart. That to me is the Jimny for off-roaders.
See,
You don't have the money for a chair. You don't have the money for like a decent off-road car. So you go get a Jimny because it's cheap and it's still something you could drive on the road and be relatively happy with.
Yeah. Now I think if we had the Jimny available here, I think you'd actually see a pretty decent dip to like Jeep sales, because I think a lot of people that are like, if you, most of the time when I see like Wranglers, right, like
Yeah.
especially like higher up, done up trim like Wranglers, they're never doing anything. They're never going off road, never go anywhere. So I think a lot of people who just like who buy a Wrangler or like an older Wrangler, a few years old or whatever, that's just looking to like go and do stuff that's like off road and whatnot. I think they'd rather spend their money in something like a Jimny, because a Jimny is just off rip like a better choice for that. You're spending less money. It's easier to run, easier to maintain. It'd have a huge It's already got a huge aftermarket even outside the States. Could you imagine what like if you put the backing of like the boom behind the US like overlanding scene into the Jimny?
Well, it's like the Jimny is what the Renegade should have been.
Yes.
And the Renegade sold actually pretty well. Like it was a fairly successful platform for.
If it sold fairly well, it just kind of, I feel like it wasn't. It was more of a like escape competitor than an actual like smaller light off roader, because like
the Renegade is even smaller than an escape. So here's I know my FCA,
but I think like the use case.
Yeah.
Like the people buying it.
I know my FCA SUVs very well because I worked there. And for people that don't know, the Jeep Compass, when I was a vehicle dynamics engineer at FCA, the Jeep Compass was my program. So I drove a lot of Renegades. For people that don't realize that, is that the Renegade and the Compass are the same platform, basically. The Compass is 60 millimeters longer. That's it. It's the only, it's that, and it's tuned differently, the suspension and everything. The Jeep Renegade was designed and tuned out of Italy. So the steering tuning, the suspension tuning, all the bars, everything was done by Italians. It is the Italians attempting to be a small, like it's the Italians attempting to be a small Wrangler. That's what it is. But it steers like a little Fiat. And it doesn't, well, at least it used to. And so it had a lot of success because it was cute and it was kind of cool. The Compass wasn't there, right? So it was really the only kind of thing in its segment, and it was dirt cheap. When those things came out, you could get them without AC, just like you could get a Wrangler without AC. They had the removable roof. People don't realize that. Renegades had removable roofs. I don't know if they got rid of it, but they did. And they started at like $19,000.
Yeah.
Like, and you could get it with a 1.4 liter turbo manual. It was cool. Like, they were legitimately kind of cool.
Well, and I could definitely see, like, like the people who are like, I'm about to send my daughter off to college or whatever. Exactly, she thinks it's cool, well, she would love a Wrangler, but, we can't afford a Wrangler. But we also want to put our daughter in something, safe and new and reliable, right? So we're going to buy a Renegade. I 100% see that pipeline.
And you could get decent options on them. Right, and it's like 22,000 back in like 2014. That's very affordable for a small SUV. And at one point I think we shoved like 10 tires in that car, not on wheels, but like we shoved like 10 to 12 tires in that car to ship it back because we were trying to save on transport costs. But then the Compass comes, then the Renegade gets more expensive. I think in its later years, the Renegade was like $27,000 starting price. Just like it was like starting price was within spitting distance of a Cherokee, and an Escape, and that's when it stopped making sense. Was when it started being really expensive for what it was, and then of course they kept using the 2.4 multi-air, 2.4 Tiger Shark engine, and that motor is just a dog. And then the Compass wasn't that much more expensive, and the Compass legitimately was nicer because it was tuned by Americans. We tuned it to specifically emulate Jeep DNA, which means it was comfortable. It had a good amount of primary movement because that's kind of what it feels like to drive an SUV. The steering was light but direct. It didn't overshoot. It was a very stable, very, very stable vehicle. And yeah, that's just sort of what happened. It was a shame. It was a real shame. So yeah, the Jimny is what Jeep should have made instead of the Renegade.
Yes, I agree. I think
somehow they gave it to Suzuki.
Or I mean, like, or that could have been the Bronco Sport. You know, the smaller sub competitor to, you know, something like that. I do think that the American manufacturers are missing out by not offering something like the Jimny.
I would agree. I would completely agree.
And they're lucky that the chicken tax is the only thing stopping the Jimny from coming here and being like the sub $20,000 baby SUV you could just beat the shit out of.
Sadly, that's not going to go away in this administration.
You are correct.
So you've done 2, I've done 2, right?
Yep.
So it's your turn again.
Well, speaking of chicken tax, stopping something else being cool.
Yep.
I really wish we had those Mitsubishi Tritons that you can get over in Australia. I think you can get them in like New Zealand and maybe South Africa, a couple other like places, but I know for sure they're over in Australia.
I think we looked this up before, and I thought it was based on another vehicle's platform, but it's actually not.
Yeah,
which was interesting to me.
Yeah, basically they're just, you know, it'd be a mid-sized truck competitor, but they got like all the other mid-sized trucks overseas. You know, they got little turbo 4-cylinder diesels in them, which is super sick. But I just think having a little truck like that would be sick. I think the Triton looks pretty good.
The 6th gens especially.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they look pretty. Yeah. They look pretty good. So I think those are pretty cool. But on like, to be fair, I'm not like entirely beholden to a Mitsubishi Triton. I would also take like the Ranger Super Duty that's coming to Australia as well. I think
that's something I didn't know about.
Oh yes, the Ranger Super Duty is very sick.
Oh my goodness! Oh, it's so cute. Oh.
If you, dude, they got 8 lug axles, fully boxed in frames. They're pretty gnarly.
Pretty cool.
Turbo diesels. I think they pull like 10,000 pounds. Like they put in work.
Wow. Now I will say something that I don't think people realize is that towing capacity, U.S. versus rest of world, U.S. is always significantly lower because of how we require towing to be calculated. There's a reason why, like in Europe, you're like, oh yeah, I can tow like 5,000 pounds. I don't know the freaking kilo conversion. Get with the system, people. But you know, there's a reason why they can tow like 5,000-6,000 pounds, like a Caravan and a Focus, and it's because they're allowed to do a lot more with tire pressures. They're allowed to derate speed, because that's a big thing, right? Is towing safety is with respect to speed. Yep. So yeah, you can tow 6,000 pounds in a Focus as long as you don't go over 30 kph. Kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But that is just for people to be aware. Oh my God! I don't know if this AI note is right, but it just said pricing for a Ranger Super Duty starts at $82,990.
Oh yeah, no, that is probably about correct, because of the Australian market for cars, I'm pretty sure. True. Maybe we'll do a deeper dive on that, because I'd like to do more information, like get more information on that.
If you are Australian and want to be on the show, let us know.
Yeah,
you can stay up. You can stay up till. Oh no, we start at 6:45 ish. You should be awake by then.
Morning meeting.
Yeah, it's morning meeting for you. Okay. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. So my next one, I'm gonna kind of come out of left field a little bit, but it is my single, that like probably the car I want the most.
Okay.
Foreign, like that you can't get in the U.S. and it's gonna sound insane. Nobody's gonna understand it first until I talk about it. The Lexus LM.
Okay, so I actually don't know what this is.
Yeah, go ahead and look it up real quick. It is a hybrid electric Lexus minivan. It is a Lexusified Toyota Sienna.
Okay, so I think, I've seen
You've
like
probably
the Toyota
seen me
vans
talk about it before.
Well, and I've seen the like Toyota vans in Japan that I'm assuming are the base for this. Um,
Yeah, I think it's somewhere between a Sienna and like a K van because it is still fairly large, right? It's not like
yeah,
a
well, and so I think Toyota has a van that's not a K van because of,
yeah,
obviously it's not sized appropriate. But
yeah.
like it's because obviously they don't do Lexus.
Well,
I think over there.
one of the things with this LM, right, is it
That
is a
that
two
front grill
row.
is
It's
that
pretty
front grill
hideous.
is something.
Yeah,
I don't know if I hate it though.
no, it grows on you. But here's the thing.
it's kind of silly.
I'm a whore for a good interior,
Yes,
right?
the interior in that
And
is. I'm looking at some interior pics right now.
yes.
That
So
thing
the
looks
Lexus
pretty
LM,
executive.
the Lexus LM is two-row minivan, right?
Hmm.
And that is because there is actually a divider between the front and the back, like a proper executive car,
Yep.
right? And the rear seats are basically where the third row would be in a
Yep.
standard minivan. So you have an assload of legroom. It's got one of those, like, the one that BMW popularized with the 7 Series, the controls down at the left, down to your hand, right? And then it has a full ultra wide screen TV that is behind the driver's seats. And all I'm thinking is I would never ever do anything but road trips again. Cause me and the
Yeah.
kids, right? I like my wife and I could sit in those chairs, and the kids could sit on the floor, and we could watch movies in the back of the car, and it would be better than my living room.
Yeah. No, honestly, that is. I'm looking at a picture that's like from the screen right there right now, and like
Yeah,
that is pretty sick. And
yeah,
also, I like seeing some of the pics where like it doesn't have the third row, but they've got like whole movie theater reclining like
uh huh,
seat set. Like that is also like
yes.
that
And
is
then
even
look
like
at the
the
driver's
even the cock.
compartment.
I was gonna say even the cockpit's like actually pretty good. Like you're
Yeah,
like
it's
I'm
got
like all
like
right,
a
I could see myself sitting
Lexus,
there for 15 hours. Like
right?
tap me in. I'm locking in. I'm driving to Miami right now. Like
Right? Like this, here's the thing. If this doesn't roll like a pig, right? And doesn't steer like a pig, it will and then it will be infinitely better than my Pacifica, because my Pacifica, I had two problems with it. Driving over 65 miles per hour was legitimately a little bit terrifying because of
yeah,
how much just natural body roll it has. And I'm sorry, the two guys, I'm not going to say your name on the air, that I know from GM who were former Chrysler engineers, that you guys think this thing was well done. I do not think the Pacifica was well done. I'm sorry. It handles like a pig. It's heavy. The engine is just garbage. Here's
yeah.
the
I
thing.
that 3.6 is
Why would I want a 298 horsepower? Because it's 298, right? It's a derated version of the 3.6.
yep.
Why would I want that motor that only gets like 30 miles to the gallon when I could have a Sienna that makes like 40 or something, right? For the same power, it's just as fast,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
And
and I
then
mean, I don't know if because the Pacifica even all-wheel drive.
you can get it, I think, in all-wheel
Okay.
drive now, but it gets rid of stow and go. So why would you do it?
Yeah, because I mean the Sienna you get 3.5 all-wheel drive, and it's
Yeah, they don't
and
have
I mean at
stow and
least
go, but that's because stow and go is a Chrysler, like it's a
yeah,
Chrysler
it's
patent.
trademarked. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you look at this, you're like, I could sit here comfortably. It looks like it's got beautifully comfortable seats, and Toyotas usually do have really good seats. I will
Yeah,
say.
they're not, they're pretty solid. And I actually have driven like a recent generation Sienna,
Oh yeah,
and like oh yeah, it was an all-wheel drive one, and I will say for a van like that actually drives phenomenally.
yeah,
I do think like you're I have zero complaints. Like as far as like a car you just would
right.
drive, right? Like to be a good car, it makes sense from the
Yes,
manufacturers. Like we're so good at making cars, we make them boring. But like yeah,
yeah,
no, the Sienna is perfectly fine. I would definitely not take having driven both a Pacifica or Town and Countries
hmm
and then also having driven a Sienna. There's absolutely no. If I was in the market for one, the Pacifica never even would come up on my radar. It
The
would definitely be
only
between an
reason,
Odyssey and a Sienna.
the only reason we got the Pacifica is because dollar for dollar we bought a used one.
Yep.
Dollar for dollar, I got so much more value out of the Pacifica in
Well,
terms
and
of
that's
price
fair.
for features, because
The
I
only
just
the
right.
only retaliation I'd have to that honestly just be like when you go to sell a Sienna or you go to sell an Odyssey, like you'd get more out of it. But
I will say that, to be perfectly honest, though, I didn't lose too much on the Pacifica when I sold it. I think I lost.
I mean, if you got a good deal on it in the first place, then
I
you
didn't.
know.
No,
Oh, you didn't.
I bought it in 2022.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
you got it in the.
I got it. I got reamed.
You got taxed. Yeah,
yep.
You got taxed.
But I got like I think I only lost like $4,000 on it. I owned it for 2.5 years. So
not bad, not a terrible operating loss. I mean,
no, it's
for a car that you bought at that time, you could have lost way more. So there's definitely there's people sitting out there right now with $10,000 to $12,000 in negative equity from a car they bought in 2022, and you know, it's for $4,000. Yeah, that's I'll take that L. That's all right.
I was coming right up against the mileage where I was going to have cooling system issues. So
yeah.
So I just figured if I was going to have cooling system issues, I should just go ahead and get a Q7.
Yeah, you might as well be in an Audi if you're gonna have cooling issues.
Exactly. I do on occasion miss my Pacifica though when I'm like dealing with trying to put stuff in the Audi, and I'm just like, God, I miss the Pacifica. It was so big.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure like
are better than trucks. They're better than trucks, people.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
You're not going to agree with me, but
no, I do think because a minivan for the most part usually drives much more like a car, which is nicer to drive. Yes. And then like if you need to move stuff, like usually like a minivan is at your knees, like the hatch is at your knees, maybe your waist, but like you try to load stuff in a truck, load stuff in a lifted truck even. No, that sucks ass.
Minivans can usually carry like a 4x8 sheet of plywood. Like that's the typical, like you can put a 4x8 sheet of plywood.
Yeah, fold all your seats down, and you could probably do that.
Yeah,
definitely see somebody moving I mean, I see, you go to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, you always see people out there in minivans like stuffing all kinds of shit, plus 3 kids and the dog.
I think my behind the seat storage, like behind the front seat storage, like if I folded everything down in the Pacifica, was like 200 cubic feet.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Yeah,
that is a huge ass amount of space.
All right, so we've had the Triton, the Jimny, and the Levorg. What else? Wait, Triton, Jimny, Levorg.
One thing I'd like to add to the
S660.
LM. Yes. One thing I'd like to add to the LM, because I'm pretty sure this is based off of that the Toyota vans I am kind of familiar with. I've seen plenty of, I think the company that does them up, I think is like T-Demand or something like that. But they do a bunch of like stance show car ones, and seeing those vans laid out, they look so sick.
Man, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, you gotta. They look sick.
So
if I had one, that is what I'd have to do to it.
Slammed vans can look good. So what is your?
So
I think you're 5th, right? We're on number 5. What is?
Since we're already talking about Toyotas, I think my last pick here, or second to last pick, I don't know where we're at, but
I'm not sure either.
The GR Yaris. I think the GR Corolla that we did get in the States is cool. Yep. I like it a lot, but I do think the GR Yaris is just a funner, like more nimble, 2-door, like.
I haven't kept up too much with. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, those look a lot better than the Corolla. Yeah. I think.
I agree. I think the GR Yaris, it just looks a little better. It's obviously a little bit lighter, a little bit more nimble. Not by much, but it is. And I just think the GR Yaris, I think it's just is like shaped a little bit better, more proportionally. I really kind of feel like the GR Corolla was kind of like a last minute stopgap to like how can we do something with this platform we developed and put it in the States because people want it. Yeah. But we're not going to give them a Yaris because they're not going to buy it.
No.
And, I 100% do think the GR Corolla in the States is a better option, like sales-wise. Like, I think a Corolla will outsell the Yaris 10-1. Yes. But I really wish the GR Yaris was available here because I think the GR Yaris is just it's a sicker option.
I agree. So if we're talking about things that should have been available here but weren't, my next pick, and I'm realizing I went through my list and it's like there's not a single rear-wheel drive car on this list, is the C519 Focus ST. So we got the C346 was the last one that we got, right? That's the one everybody thinks of. So Ford made an additional generation Focus that's kind of gone now, right? But that's the C519 and the
That's the current
C519.
generation over there.
Yeah,
Or...
I think the Focus is dead worldwide now, but
Oh, okay.
the C519 Focus ST, I wish we got it because from all I've read and then everything I know from working internally at Ford, that was just such like it's S650 versus S550, right? It is actually a really solid how do I say it? It's a really solid revision on the car. Like they took and they pushed it a little further. They pushed the looks in a better direction. They pushed the interiors in a better direction. Like it's just, to me, it is a more refined C346 ST.
Yep.
And I wish that we got that because it's something we should have got in the first place.
Yep.
And then, right, just kind of adding insult to injury, like it's better than the one we got, which I thought that this Focus ST was such a great front wheel drive platform to mess with. And we talked about it in our early car modification changed episode. There's just nothing to build front wheel drive tuner cars off of anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like you're kind of like you could get a newer SI, but I don't think the newer SIs really have the same, you know, kind of hype that even like older Hondas did.
No.
And then like now, like, and I think to be fair, part of that is the fact that like they moved up trim by offering a Type R here now. But like we said, I think in that video, even like I would really love an FL5 Type R, but I mean to pay like 45, 50
it's
G's
a lot of money.
Like
for
it's a lot of money for it's a lot of money for an FL5, and like not that I think an FL5 is like any kind of downgrade or anything like that, but like just to have like the idea of like you could get a pretty well optioned Mustang GT for that same money. And for if I was only gonna have that car, an FL5 is probably the better pick, you know, being that I live in Michigan and whatnot.
Yeah, but
at the same time, I'm not in that situation where I only have one vehicle, and so like but for me to go and buy like a $50,000 daily that doesn't serve some kind of greater purpose other than like, it's kind of fun as a daily.
Yes.
It's kind of obnoxious to me when like I could have something that's a more specialized and have more fun, in my opinion.
The problem with the price for me is I've been consistent with this. The problem with the price is that as you get to that point, I think you can't sell front wheel drive cars.
No, I agree.
Like it needs to be all wheel drive at that point.
Yeah.
That's the Golf R, which the Golf R is already insanely overpriced, right? But they took a front wheel drive platform, they made it all wheel drive, they gave it more power, and it makes more sense because you talked about the SI. The SI makes 201 or 205 or something like that horsepower. It makes as much power as a Fiesta ST, and it weighs as much as a Focus ST, which is the reason why it always was like, because it's just underpowered. It's severely underpowered for what it is. And that's why things like the Focus ST made sense, and the Golf GTI made sense, and the F50s. Well, last year the F56 because it had BMW mini tax. But right, those cars, it's kind of why they made sense because they weren't that expensive, and because they're hatchbacks, they're still kind of 24,
25,000 new. I mean,
yeah, that back then, yeah. Like
I mean, you know, I think even like GTI. In like 2015-ish was like what 26,000.
I think it was 24 or 25 starting, but then if you wanted any features at all, it was gonna go up.
Yeah. But I mean, like at least starting like mid-20s, like that was a price point, and I think like Focus ST is kind of a great example of that. Where like you could, if you were somebody going to college, you know, and you were working a full-time job, like you could afford to buy a Focus ST and be like, yeah, no, like, mom, dad, I'm gonna
stretch the budget.
I'm gonna buy this myself. Like, I want to buy my first car myself. Like, that was a car you could go buy brand new. You could do it on your own, and like, you know, you could get financing for that. You know, and like, if it was something that was gonna be your only car, which it probably was, if you were in that situation, you know, like obviously like that, I could really see paying 27 grand for a slightly decent spec'd out GTI or Focus ST over buying a FRS or a BRZ at the time because, you know, it's like, well, I'm going to be going to school, you know, the coupe, like I might have, you know, issues, and, you know,
if you've only got the
drive
one
4 hours.
car,
I could 100%. yeah, it makes sense to go that route, and to, seeing that kind of just like no longer even be an option. Not even just like,
Yes.
well, I could have that option, but I got to pay 40 grand for it. Which, I mean, I guess you kind of have, because you can get a Golf R, and I think you can
You
still
can
get GTIs, but I
you
mean
can
you're
get a
still,
GTI,
but
yeah.
like it's your only option, or I mean
Hmm.
you could pay the tax on a GR Corolla, you know, gets, but like, because a regular Corolla hatch isn't worth, it's
No,
that's not exciting in
no,
many capacities.
no.
It's
And
like,
same with the base Civic.
yeah,
Standard
so
Civics are really boring. Like
yeah,
they're kind of out. They're kind of awful actually to drive. I don't know if you've
yeah. I
driven
mean,
a base
they
Civic.
just do what a normal car should do. If you're just trying to get groceries, get back and forth to classes, sure,
Yeah.
buy a Civic. Like, they're perfectly fine vehicles. But I think, like, if you wanted one from any kind of enthusiast standpoint,
Yep.
obviously it's not gonna have the same alert. So I think, kind of putting yourself in the situation where, like, you don't really have those same options. Your option is either buy something used, which now,
Is still
first car,
taxed.
like, you're getting taxed, whether it's
Yep.
through, interest rates on, being higher on used car loans, whether it's, finding one that's high mileage, has issues and needs repairs, whatever. Or now you're gonna move so far up market that, and like, let's be real, if you're the kid in college right now
You
and
can't
you're
really
you're
afford
working a
that.
full-time job, you're not buying an FL5. If you're buying
No.
an FL5, then like, you got to be getting some help, because I can't
Yep.
imagine working full-time at any kind of, I at most jobs, that aren't, going to be, something that you had to kind of work yourself into. You're not getting an entry level job somewhere where
No.
you're going to be, affording an 800 to $1,000 a month car payment. I
No.
mean, unless you manage to have, 10 grand to put down on something like that, or 20 grand to put down. But I would imagine somebody who's in that situation is probably not doing that.
I would
I
imagine
would
as well.
I
Yeah.
would I would think the amount of people who would, like, yeah, I've got 20 grand cash, I'm going to school, I'm not gonna put 20 grand down on a
No.
fucking Civic. Like,
Nope.
that's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, I just don't think it's there's too much viability in paying that kind of money for a chassis like that, when you could, like I said earlier, you could start touching, Mustang GTs. And if we're not even talking about new cars anymore, at $50,000, I mean, dude, you could start, there's so many options. I mean, you could
Yes.
start touching
Oop.
Alpha,
Crap.
what do you call it? Alpha 4Cs. You could touch, a GT350.
I
You
want a
could touch
4C.
a used R8. You could touch, a rebuilt title G30 or
Yep.
GTR at that
Yeah.
point. I mean, like, dude, there's a lot of things, 40, 50 grand to
Yes.
get you, that are a lot more cars than an FL5. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think we did. I'm looking at it. We did go a little bit out of order, but
yeah,
largely my last answer to the question is in a very similar vein to the C519 ST, and that is I wish we got the Renault Megane RS TC4.
yep,
That is
those are cool.
such a cool, like, I mean, because it's like it's an FL5 competitor, right?
Yep. I was just about to
Realistically,
say, again, kind of like little high hatch, front wheel drive things,
yeah.
things that we just don't get here, things that
Yep.
we don't have really anything here. I mean, you can get a GTI, and I mean, that's
I've realized this as I've gotten older. I have so little interest in high price rear wheel drive cars. Because to me, if I'm going to do a rear wheel drive car, I'm either going to track it or I'm going to drift it, right? I'm going to do some kind of motorsport with it.
that's fair.
And so I don't want something expensive. I want something that's cheap because I want to be okay with wrapping it around a pole.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think in a lot of cases, this is why I tell people, if I was going to just buy a rear wheel drive car for the purpose of like going fast right now, I would just go buy like a second gen Mustang GT or S550, GT. Because I mean, for
Yeah.
20 grand, for 20 grand, that's a lot of car that's got a lot of potential.
Yep.
For not that much more money.
Or
I mean,
like an S197 2014
Coyote,
plus GT with Coyote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coyote, yeah.
Fantastic, like, cheap car for rear wheel drive. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's why for me, like, I just don't get excited about fancy rear wheel drive cars. I get excited about stuff like newer cars, right? I just get excited about stuff that I would drive daily.
Yep.
which is why, like, for me, it's front wheel drive hot hatches, because that is something I'll drive daily, because it's fine to go to work. It's got some practicality. It's easier to justify, or like a van or a big SUV or something, because that's what I can use for my family. Like, I like dream of being able to get like like a Lexus LX, or like a B7 or a X7 Alpina, right?
Yep.
Like, those are, like, I look at those and I'm like, oh, I would love to do that, because that's what I do now, you know. So that's why for me, like, I just largely I have such a affection for front wheel drive cars and SUVs, because like there's tons of rear wheel drive platforms out there that I can start with if I wanted to do motorsport. You know, ZN6,
Yeah.
ZN6, S197, SN95, Fox body, fourth gen Camaros. If I really wanted to weeb it up, I could get this, you know, S chassis and like all that, you know.
Yeah.
There's so much out there.
Yeah, there's plenty of options, and especially like if you had, you know, the budget of,
Mhm.
like you said, a high dollar car. Like, let's say, you know, you're talking about like an M4 or something, right? Where you're just gonna spend
Yeah,
$80,000, $90,000. I mean, if you have a $90,000 ceiling,
I'm gonna go
yeah, I
buy
mean,
an
the sky's
SUV.
kind of the limit. You could do a lot with 90 grand. I
Yeah.
mean,
I have one final question on this one before we transition topics. If you could get any one front wheel, like if you were going to, like if you were a kid right now going to college,
mhm.
right? What fun front wheel drive car would you buy?
That's on the market right now.
Just used car, new car, whatever, right? Just like
Oh,
recommend
honestly,
a
so like if I was just, you know, college kid,
yep.
I'm assuming, you know, I'm
They,
ramen noodle
they
budget. Like,
want to
I
have a
shouldn't be.
little bit of fun, but and it's got to be a front wheel drive car.
I'm probably buying a 2013, 2014 Civic Si. So
Okay.
I think that's the FD2.
Not sure.
Or
I'm not good
I
on
think it's
my
FD,
Civic
FD.
gens.
Yeah, the ninth gen Civic
Okay.
SIs. So that is last of the K24. So it's still naturally aspirated, so you're not really dealing with like
Yeah.
10th gen turbo car problems. But I mean, I think they look pretty good, especially the sedan. I think looks better than the coupe of that
Yeah,
generation.
I would agree.
Um, but like, I mean, relatively fun. You're gonna get 30 mpg, even if you're, you know, kind of beating on it.
Yep.
You know, but you have a ceiling there. You know, I'd probably get that, rip around with it. You know, if you get some budget as a college kid, and you can toss some stuff at it. I mean, dialing in that suspension a little bit, maybe putting a Craftworks little supercharger on it, picking up another 100, 120 wheel. You know, put it on
Mm-hmm.
E85. I mean, like that. That's a fun, solid little car that's gonna be
Yeah.
reliable, that you could just beat on, and I think that's a
I'm seeing
great chassis there.
some JDM ones, some ones that are like import, right?
Yep.
Just to give an idea, like they're like 17, 18,
Oh
like
yeah, they're not
low
that
mileage.
they're not that bad. I think even stateside, like, because
Probably
last
around
time I
that
looked,
price.
yeah,
I would
you're
assume.
probably gonna be about 20 grand for like a clean
Yeah.
one. But I think that like if you're a college kid and you're like
I
financing
think
your
that's a
first or
great
second
choice.
car, that's like a solid price point.
Yeah.
You know, it's reliable, it's economical, it
And
has potential. I think
I
it's
do
a great chassis
recommend
there.
a front wheel drive car for your first car. Like if you're going off, you
Yeah.
have one car. I really do recommend it. My
No, I think a
choice.
lot of people
Go
just kind of.
ahead.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of people just give front wheel drive stuff like a bad rap because, like, obviously, and I think we've talked about this before, like kind of like drift hype and other things.
Yep.
Like, a lot of people do kind of discredit it, but I do think like a fun front wheel drive car is a good experience. I think if you spend, you know, 20 grand and you get a car that really does a lot for you, like
Yep.
that Civic Si is a very competitive car at 20 grand, where like you could daily drive it all year round.
Yes.
You know, you're reliable. Like, it's a K24, and it's a naturally aspirated K24 at that.
Yep.
And it's the last of K24s that made it into something. Like, it's everything that was gonna go wrong with something up to that point had kind of been sorted.
It's been dealt with. Yeah.
So like
It's
stout,
like EJ's.
it's only 10 years. Well, and it's only 10 years old, you know, at this
Mhm.
point, right? So like it's not so old that it's gonna just disintegrate every time you park it.
Yeah.
But it's also, you know, old enough that it's kind of touching the bottom of the depreciation curve for the
Agreed.
most part. So I
And
mean, I think
they're kind of underrated.
yeah, 100%. I like nobody's like I said, you put a little Craftworks fucking blower on it, do a couple of things, you just have it be nice.
Yep.
It's one of those things like people are gonna look at you like, yeah, like actually like I really like so and so's car. Like it's that's a really
It's
nice
clean.
Civic. It's a really
Yeah.
well put together car. It's clean. And like no, if somebody's not gonna expect you to make 400 horsepower in that, like,
No.
you'll creep up on some, a dude in a stock Mustang GT, be like, oh hey, you know what, like, like, dude, you're on my quarter, like I was expecting that.
Yeah.
So I think that's
I would agree. That's a
would
good
be
one.
fun there.
Front wheel drive, because here's the thing: if you want to learn actually good driving, learn on a front wheel drive car because it will enforce like track
A lot
driving,
of
right? Grip
positive
driving.
habits. Yep.
It will enforce good habits because you can get away with a lot of crap in a rear wheel
Oh
drive
yeah.
car that you shouldn't be able to get away with, like especially right. Don't brake and turn, right? Don't like a lot of these braking things that are really just good habits to have.
Yep.
If you do it in a front wheel drive car, you're gonna screw it up. Accelerating out of a turn, like right, you can get more speed out of a rear wheel drive car because it has inherent benefits, but it's still not great habits to get into as a like beginner driver. So front wheel drive cars are great for enforcing actually fast driving for a beginner.
Yep.
So my choice, and I still insist, this is the best choice for a enthusiast that wants a practical first car. Mark 6 GT, or sorry, not GT, sorry, Mark 6 Jetta 1.4 turbo manual. It is a 1.4 turbo. It's got a good bit of lag, so it kicks a little fun.
That's not the GLI, right? The GLI is the
no. This is a base. It's a base motor. They're available in a handful of years. You can get them relatively recent. Decent low mileage, sub 20K. It comes with a 5-speed manual transmission, which is right, plenty easily replaceable, super cheap. Those motors are phenomenal. So I had a Mark 7 Jetta with that motor that I drove to Chicago and back from Detroit, and I got 50 miles per gallon. 50. So that motor is very capable.
Can't complain about that.
No, and it's a turbo motor, so it's fun, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really think they need much more power for what they are, right? You throw some coilovers on it, some decent coilovers on it, lower it a little bit, get some nice wheels, some nice tires. You have a good looking car, and it's going to handle fun, and it's going to get great fuel economy. I think Mark 6 Jetta with the 1.4 turbo, hands down for me, best choice. Yeah.
I think it's a solid pick for sure.
Speaking of economical cars, Subaru has a new Crosstrek for 2026.
They do, and I don't know about you, but I actually have kind of always been a fan of the Crosstrek. I always thought the Crosstrek was neat, and I've kind of waited for them to get cheap, like earlier gen ones, because I would kind of love to put like a little Crosstrek like off-roader together, just something to just like beat on, something I wouldn't care about, because like I think that would be solid, and the earlier ones have, it's like the same drivetrain setup basically as like an FRS. Underneath it, they're relatively stout, relatively reliable. I think that the Crosstrek actually, I could be wrong, but I do think for several years it did win some reliability awards and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think it really did push the Subaru kind of forward in a good direction as a brand. And so with the new 26 Crosstrek, I think it's kind of a good. It is going up in price a little bit.
I think it was like I have the article open. MSRP jumps $1,300.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling up Subaru right now to actually see what the base price of
the
a
new MSRP
Crosstrek is right now. Starting at $26,500. So
$2,700.
Yeah, that's
27,000.
kind of pricey. But also the new one comes with the 2.5 instead of the 2.0, which is a sizable upgrade for that car, because the 2.0
gains like 40 horse.
Yeah, I think so. I was gonna look real quick.
Picking up 40 horse, 50 horse over, that's pretty solid. And I will say, like, the Crosstrek drives like everything else in Subaru's lineup, which is not a bad thing.
No.
Like the Impreza, the Forester, the Outback, like everything there, like they all have they all drive very well dynamically. I think Subaru does a very good job of providing an affordable product.
I agree. Okay, so the 2.0 makes 152 horsepower, 145 foot-pounds of torque max. The 2.5 makes 182 and 176.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
pretty sizable
sizable
upgrade.
for
Yeah.
for $1,300 on the base model.
Yeah, that's a easy. I mean, that's
That's
an
a.
easy upgrade for $1,300. I think if you're not checking that box,
I mean, I'll be
if you weren't
honest.
checking that box before, I think now you're definitely not
Yeah,
gonna be upset.
the Crosstrek was a car that I looked at as a second car for a little while, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things that held me back from it actually was the fact that I was going to have to go up trim to get a motor that I thought was reasonable. Because I do think that 2.0 is just an unreasonably slow motor.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like that, especially like again, if it's gonna be, if you're doing anything that's not driving around just like in the city, like if you had to be on the highway any amount of time, like the
Yeah.
2.0, it is gutless. It's not gonna get you anywhere
No.
fast. Like if you're just putting around the city, you're not really doing anything. You just want something that's easy to get in and out of. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, maybe it's fine, but I mean, it's it is reflective of how it
Yeah.
how it
Well, and
how it
here's some
performs.
other things from the article. Comes standard every Crosstrek. So we're talking affordability, right? So a base, it's going to be about, it's saying here, okay, it's going to start at 28.4. So that's a little higher than we were getting. So 28.4. So that's a bit pricey, but every Crosstrek comes with EyeSight driver assist, which I will admit Subaru's auto braking is dog ass, but the rest of the driver assist stuff can be nice, to be honest. LED headlights, dual zone climate control, which I will say I am a big fan of. TPMS with individual TPMS displays. That is something every freaking car should have, and
Yeah,
none of mine do.
Really, neither of yours have individual
Audi
displays?
still uses indirect. Audi still uses wheel speed sensor.
That is so annoying.
It's my biggest complaint with the car.
Yeah, that is very annoying because nothing's more irritating. Actually, I'm not entirely surprised because like even like the 21 STI, doesn't have.
Yeah. It's a shame.
Direct, like even stuff like that. Yeah, not having direct. Speaking of features that I think fit in with that should just be standard on everything. Why does everything in 2025 not just have one up, all windows, one down, all windows?
No, for real, right?
Like that should just be, that should be very easy to function into the window switches. I don't see why everything doesn't have one up, one down.
Last I checked, actually, this reminds me of another feature that's bullshit that it didn't come standard. Last I checked, base model Colorados don't have cruise.
No, I don't believe so. There's actually a lot of things that you can get that don't have cruise, even like
cruise
a Ford
control
lineup.
Should be standard.
Yes. I 100% agree.
But yeah, so like I actually think this is kind of nice because the reason I think it's a good segue is we were just talking about great cars for kids going off to college.
Yeah, and I do think this would be a great option.
If you're buying a new car, it's probably the most, like, if you're buying a new car for your kid, right, or just like you're on the, like, you want a new car but you're looking for something affordable, like I think Subaru kind of has the best lineup for it.
Well, and I was gonna say too, I think even like, if right now, right, like if your kids were about to go off to college, I would definitely feel like if you were like, hey, what do you think I should put my daughter or my son in, to go off to school, like they're gonna go to school, up northern Michigan, whatever, like, or they're gonna be going to school somewhere, it's 3-4 hours away. I would definitely say, dude, like a Crosstrek would be a great option. A Subaru is a great option.
I went to college in a Subaru, like that was what I had.
You had a Forester. So
oh my god, the new Forester and the Outback start at the same price now.
Yes,
that's weird. Why? I guess the Forester is way bigger than it used to be now.
Yeah, that is true. The Forester is quite bigger, and I do also think the Ascent is gone. I believe.
Yeah, well, 2025 it still seems to be here, but I think
right. Yeah, but I
I
think for 26 it's going away, which is kind of sad because I actually really like the Ascent.
Really?
Is
it a 3-row?
It is 3-row. It's a 3-row,
7-passenger,
and it tows 5,000 pounds.
What?
Yeah.
What engine does this have?
FA24. That was actually
Really?
the first thing to get the FA24.
That's right, it was. I kind of remember that now.
That was the
I just
test. That was the test bed before it
okay.
started going and everything else. Just like the FRS and the Crosstrek in 2013 were the test bed for the FA20 platform before you ended up seeing it in the WRX.
Okay. Yeah. The only thing I will knock Subaru on is their fuel economy.
Yeah, no, and that is my biggest gripe with Subaru. Even in their standalone, like, there's no reason that we can't get better fuel economy out of Subarus at this point. Like, we should be at least approaching 30 in a much closer, like, the fact that you can't get a Crosstrek to just like be rated at 30, 32 is beyond me. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
unacceptable.
so the Ascent is like 26, which is abysmal for its class.
Yeah.
That's
No,
wow.
100%, because I think a CX90, or CX70, is getting
Well,
28, 30.
up to 34 mpg on the Crosstrek is what it shows now.
Okay, well,
That's better than I thought.
that is better than I thought, actually. I thought those would be closer to, you know, I think 21, 2020-ish, like when I was looking at other stuff. I think a lot of
It
the
was
Subaru
lower. It
lineup was
definitely
still
was
like
lower.
lower 20s.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
if
So
it's
they've really improved.
approaching 30, then that is a significant
Yeah.
improvement. But I still think that, like,
Yeah.
the fact that, okay, like, even 34, like, I mean, dude, like, you can go get a Lincoln Nautilus, or like a Lincoln Nautilus or Corsair or something like
Yeah.
that. You're touching like 40.
Yeah.
And I would say Ford does a great job at getting emissions. And like
Ford's
having Ford at being
fuel economy
MPG
is
focused.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, the fuel economy is fantastic.
I would agree.
Uh, and like the fact that, I mean, a Maverick, you know, even with an
Mavericks are so
EcoBoost,
impressive.
like that's touching, mid
Mhm.
30s all day long.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can't get something else in there, and I get, there's flaws with the all-wheel drive and the Boxer as far as like fuel economy goes, but it is still, it's kind of
Yeah.
unacceptable that we're
I would
we're
agree.
at where we are.
I would agree. I will say I really appreciate that Subaru's leaned into the yellow accenting
Yes.
for because that's the thing. You look at a Crosstrek, right? Like the cladding and stuff makes sense on a Crosstrek. I just wish they didn't put it on the WRX. Like the
Yeah.
design language is consistent across Subaru. They're actually quite consistent across the platforms.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's nobody like more consistent in their lineup, I would think, right now than
I'd say
Subaru, unless you're just like, yeah, all Audis just kind of look the same.
but they all just look bad now.
Yeah,
I was like, I
true.
drove by an A3, like a brand new A3, a couple days ago, and it was just like
They're
it's
so-
traffic. It's
Yeah,
just
they're
traffic.
It's very much like if you just said car, and if I just say car and I need you to picture a small
Yeah.
sedan, like that's what you're getting.
My criticism of the Corvette up to the C8 has always been that it just looks like what you would draw as a 6-year-old a sports car.
Yeah.
If you told a 6-year-old to draw a sports car, they'd go Corvette. Like that's what they would do, and not because they've seen Corvettes and they think they're cool, but because it's a wedge.
Well,
it's
and
shaped like a sporty wedge.
Somebody really took you to heart on that when they made the XLR. They were just like, let's just let the 6-year-old draw it this time.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, actually. I know that most of you guys listening to this probably won't give a flying shit about the Crosstrek.
I'm sure all well, I don't know. There might be the one hardcore enthusiast who's like, these guys are talking about the new Crosstrek?
Here's the thing, right? You and I like modified cars. We like modifying cars. We like performance. But at the end of the day, both of us just appreciate something that we would like to drive on a daily basis.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I refuse to drive something boring. If it's boring, I won't own it for very long.
Well, and I love the auto market. That's the thing to realize about me is I got into automotive as a business first.
Yeah.
I like modifying cars. I like cool old cars, but I got into automotive particularly on the OEM side and appreciated what was the pricing, what are the offerings, what are the footprints and the wheelbases and all the sizing and the comparisons, and does this make sense in comparison to that? I've always loved that stuff. That's what I really liked. I love talking about that. That's why whenever somebody is like, "What car should I get?" I'm always like, "Hell yeah, let's do this," because I love taking in a set of requirements and then figuring out like what the best choice is based on all the
Oh yeah,
options and everything. That's one of my favorite things to do.
yeah. Like
Um,
playing automotive matchmaker
oh yeah,
is probably one of the fun. And honestly,
yes,
I think like if you guys want, drop in the comments or message us whatever it is you're interested in, because we'd love to. We could sit there for probably 20 days straight,
oh yeah.
and just play automotive matchmaker.
We can
So
play automotive
if
matchmaker in any episode. You guys just got to tell us, and we'll do it.
yeah,
We'll DM you your specific episode when it's out.
exactly. There we go.
Yeah, I love that idea. Um, wow, so we hit an hour and 5 minutes on what was
Yes, we
supposed to
did.
be the first 2 of 4 segments. We had 4 segments prepared for today. We got through 2.
Yeah,
So
we spent a
yeah,
little bit more time on these than I thought.
that
I
was
didn't think we had
fun.
so much to say about it, but yeah, I think
That
we
was
had
fun.
fun with it. Thank you for the question on what we would like to own that wasn't
Yes,
available here, because
that was
I
a
think
good one. That was a
yeah,
really good one.
like all the time do we think about the stuff that you could just go and buy, right? But
Yes.
like the stuff that you don't get a chance to go and buy or take
Yeah.
a look at, or even just like honestly, a lot of it's kind of just feelings based, right? Because it's like looking in, it's like, well, I kind of like this, I kind of like that, I
Yep.
think I would like this, um, and so like it's kind of fun to just kind of
It
take
is.
little bits of things that you like and be like, okay, well, I see these qualities in this stuff, but I can't have it. That's
Yep.
unobtainium, right? Because like we're 20 years away from owning most of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so
And
like,
by that time, I might not even be that into it anymore.
no, for sure, because like, am I gonna care about a Honda E? Is a Honda E even gonna be around in
Right.
20 years? Like, how well is a Honda E gonna hold up? Like, am I gonna be able to import
Yeah.
a Honda E? Like, how is importing EVs gonna work? Like,
That's a great question.
because
I'll be
like,
honest, I still look at i3s from time to time. What holds me back is the battery, but I do look at them from time to time, you know?
yeah, because those.
So,
What's the range on an i3? Because I'm
it's
curious.
like sub 100 miles
Okay.
without the range extender. Here's the problem is that the i3 batteries aren't in production basically. So,
Yeah.
I've been told it's like 20 to 30 grand to replace the battery. Yeah.
Now, is that battery, is it capable of being repaired?
I
Like the early Prius, like I think actually even all
I
the generations of Prius, you can
believe so.
separate that battery. I'm just wondering if it's something like if you're confident you could do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like I
I
haven't pulled apart
think
a hybrid battery, but I would feel confident in doing so.
I think it is. The problem I think is more just actually getting the cells.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not
And
sure if
that's
they're
kind of where I was.
commercially
That's kind of what
available.
I was wondering, because I know like the Prius ones are relatively widely available, but
Yeah.
I would also say as far as hybrids go, the Prius is also probably the most widely accepted. Uh,
Yes.
so I think that
Yeah.
having that is a big advantage to older
hmm
Priuses versus stuff like Leafs or i3s and other things. Bolts even probably. Uh,
Realistically, if I got an i3, I think I would want to be comfortable enough that I could swap in a different system down the line.
yeah.
Like if you
Which
could
I think, and I guess we'll let the viewer, but I would like to pitch to the idea of doing a talk about like like current EVs, and like being able to swap them to like newer,
yes.
or like first generation stuff, and being able to swap over like how EV modification is
We
potentially going to
should
look like in the future.
try
Because
and get somebody on for that. Somebody that's an
yes.
EV expert. I would think that would be a fascinating conversation because I'd
Oh
like
yeah,
to
somebody
learn
who has
it.
a more intimate knowledge, because I'll be honest, I really don't. Like I've driven a handful of EVs, especially like all the new
Same.
Ford stuff, Mach-E's,
Same.
Lightnings,
Yeah. I still
things
haven't
of
got
that
to drive a
nature.
Mach-E. I'd love to.
You should, honestly. I personally do think the Mach-E is a far better car than both the Escape and the Explorer, in my opinion.
The Mach-E is my current favorite midsize or compact SUV electric.
Yes.
Like
I
over a Model Y, no question. Over a Blazer EV, no question.
Yep.
Equinox EV, no question.
If
Mach-E.
I was in the market for an EV,
Yep.
and I needed something that was not going to end up being a probably Porsche Taycan or a Rivian.
Yeah.
then I'm taking a Mach-E.
Yeah.
I've
If I'm
probably
buying a
put
new EV, yes.
I've probably put 15 to 20,000 miles in Mach-E's through all my testing, during
Yeah.
test driving, and I can definitely say like that is actually relatively solid. I definitely they will have some issues
Yeah.
for sure crop up, but like I was saying, I think like as a car, I mean they're super quiet, they're super comfortable,
Yeah.
and like they are fantastic, especially if you can get into like a GT, the all-wheel drive ones,
Oh my God,
they
yeah.
feel phenomenal.
But yeah, even like the base
You
rear
can't go
wheel
wrong
drive
with it.
ones are like a 5 second something, 5.5 second
Oh
0 to
yeah, no,
60.
they're
Like
plenty
they're
quick. Zero issues
it's
with.
basically an economy car that accelerates as hard as like an old Mustang did.
Yeah.
Like for the base models.
Yep.
And I think
100%.
those are
Yeah,
running
if you want your
two.
economy car to accelerate as fast as an STI,
Yeah.
then
I think those are
which is
running like
great.
235s stock too. Like stock tires, I think is like
Yeah.
235. It's
Yeah, I
really
think
small.
on the base ones, yeah, you're like a 235. I do think they go up to like a 255, 265 on like
Yeah.
the GTs or the rallies.
But to give perspective, a Tesla Model Y runs a 255 base.
Yeah. So
So like they're tiny.
Yeah.
Um
They're doing a lot with very little tire.
yes.
So
Yeah. If I was in the market for a new specifically EV, it would probably be a Mach-E. I know it's not politically popular, but if I was going to buy a used EV right now, it would probably be a Model 3 because the deals are really good and I prefer sedans and it's the only good sedan EV that's actually affordable.
yeah, because I think otherwise you're paying significant change for like e-trons or Taycans and
Yep.
and
Honestly,
yeah.
Lucid Gravity is like my favorite EV right now though.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still the only thing that really has my mind captured for the EV market, and I haven't driven one yet.
Mhm.
So if there's an opportunity, Rivian, I would love to take
Is the
an
R3?
R1T. No, I'm big R1T. I really
I
like the
like 'em
R1T.
too.
I actually really thought about the two things I was considering before I bought the Tacoma was an
Yeah.
R1T and a Ranger Raptor. So,
Believe it.
like the R1T is very competitive in my mind, and the only reason the strongest thing that pushed me away from that was just the fact that since I knew I was getting out of my shop space, I didn't want to have to worry about charging it at home and all that.
Yeah.
So it's because I knew I wasn't gonna put I'm not gonna put a much higher amp charger in somewhere that I'm not staying permanently. So
That's always going to be the problem with EV adoption is charging, especially in a market where people can't buy.
exactly.
So.
If now I can say for sure, when I do inevitably end up buying a house, whether I own an EV or not, I will be adding charging to the house. Because I think that should be standard in probably every build going forward. To be honest.
Yeah.
But I think that yeah, you are 100% right. EV adoption will be slowed as long as you're in a renter's market, unless you start putting out mandates like, hey, landlords, if you have a rental property, if you put EV charging in, you will give you a tax credit or something like that. I would love to see something like that. I think that would be a good piece of regulation that would actually benefit both parties, because I think like at the end of the day, you're adding value to your property by adding a charger. And
the only problem is, of course, just older houses that don't have the electrical support for it.
Right.
Like getting an electrical charger or like an EV charger at my house would be a real pain.
No, and
I
don't think we'd
because
see.
I have my junction box is on the opposite side of the house from my garage.
Yep.
So I'd have to figure out I'd have to tear up the ceilings to run the power all the way over. Like that'd be a real pain in the ass. But
yeah, no, and I think that would be a stronger piece of legislation. I feel like federally or like even like on a state level that would kind of be kind of hard to make happen. But I do think like on like a county level where like if somebody was like, hey, like I could definitely see somewhere like Ann Arbor area, right? Washington County or Oakland County being like, hey, like we'll give you $1,000 credit if you install one.
I think credits would
if
be
your
a
house
great
is
way to do
listed
it.
as a rent, because it's an incentive. Or it's like, well, you know what? It really only cost me $400 or $500 plus install to do this. That's a price I'm willing to stomach. As a landlord, is being like, yeah, I would eat $500 plus the install fee to have it as a feature in the house. Because now, also at the same time too, you'd be like, well, hey, like my rental does offer electric charging. So if you already have an EV,
Right.
you'd be like, hey, we have a level 2 charger at the house, that you'd be able to use. It's free charging at the house, free charging. But
I agree. I think
I
those
think that
are
would be a good
all.
incentive. I think that would be
Yeah,
a good way to go.
I agree. It sounds good. Um, I would, for the last thing I will say, I would recommend you go check out the Lucid Gravity. Do a little more research into it.
Yep.
I know they look a little minivan esque, but they have minivan capacity. I think they get like 450 miles range,
It's not too bad.
out of like the not total base model but similar base model, and I think it's like 800 and something horsepower from the motors for like
Okay.
100
Yeah,
grand.
I'll have to look into that. I know a little bit about the Air
Yeah.
because I know some people talk about that quite often.
Yeah,
But
I think the Air looks a little funky, but the Gravity, I think with the SUV proportions, works much better for the Lucid design styling. So, yeah. Anyway, this has been fun. So,
this has been fun, and unfortunately I do think it is time to wrap it up.
yep, agreed. So, well, with that, do not forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. Probably you're probably
Spotify,
here,
Apple
though.
Podcasts, wherever your heart desires,
Yes.
we will
Thank
be
you.
there at some point, whether it's now or later.
Yeah. So this has been Zero Camber Podcast, and go away.